Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when I feel like 8 o'clock, and I finished my nap, finished my massage. Gonna go out and do some Pilates at Chinky's House of Yoga and Pilates. Chinky's, it's the best. There, I said it. And I am Pearl of Wisdom. You're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. Well, I just did a Stevie Eiserman one. Go check it out. I mean, I love Stevie, but there's this obviously story takes the day, but there's another story that's been floating out there, and it's going to be something that's going to be a story all summer. What do the Pittsburgh Penguins do now? I'm getting a lot of letters about this, and I thought I better do a video to just just give people a little insight maybe on what might be based on what I've heard, what I've read. One thing that the Pittsburgh Penguins have said, and this came from Mario Lemieux, I believe, it's just the organization in general. One of the biggest regrets they ever had was trading Jaromir Jagr. And I believe it was Mario Lemieux that was quoted as saying, they will never trade a superstar again. That's saying a lot. Now, that would, if you're never going to trade a superstar again, that would mean that Malkin would be a player you wouldn't want to be trading again. Malkin is definitely a superstar. Now, I've been saying for a while now that they probably should have let Malkin go 2, 3 years ago, and that's for two reasons. Not because Malkin is not a superstar and he's not fantastic and all of those things like that. After their last cup, maybe a year after their last cup, and when was that? I can't remember, but I thought, I don't know, I could even see it in Malkin's game. It's almost like he's got an itch to be the number one guy, and he's never going to be that in Pittsburgh. I feel it. I don't know if the players feel it. It might have something to do with the kind of deflation that was happening there. I think it's sort of like the elephant in the room. Before he goes into retirement, I just have a feeling he wants to try that role. He's been prepared for that role. He's ready for that role. So Pittsburgh has said that they'd never trade Malkin. And by the way, this is floating out there that Malkin has apparently let people know that he would be open to the idea. And for a player to say that, if it was open, I don't have quotes on that. I've been looking all over the place, but I've heard it from a couple sources. If that is the case, that he's been quoted saying something like that, that generally means he wants to, because he wouldn't say anything close to that if he didn't. So, Pittsburgh has said they would never trade a superstar again, but if you have a superstar in Malkin that has done for you what Malkin has done, and he wants to give her a go running his own team, I think they likely will do something of that. And as it turns out, I think it's for the best for not just Malkin, but for the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. Crosby's not getting any younger. Let's face it, Crosby's not what he was 3, 4 years ago. He's great, but he's not that. Their biggest problem is depth in their organization, and it's not going to change. They have virtually no prospects in their system anymore, so it's not like you can bring cheap prospects up and fill your roster up. You got to go get them through free agency, and that puts you capped out and likely not going to be getting overpaying for players that aren't that great. Phil Kessel is another one that they may decide. If they decide to trade Malkin, maybe they don't Kessel. I don't know. Maybe they do both. But I wouldn't want to go another year again. This would be the time. And you could get a great package for Malkin at this time. And you could get a good package for Kessel. I've heard LA is looking at Malkin. I mean, geez, you look at their roster, what are they going to trade? Anything that they trade is going to leave them bereft of talent. And apparently their first round pick this year, but that's probably speculation. I don't really like what Blake has done in that organization. I think it's driven by the owners more than the manager up until now, so you never know. I suppose they could make a mistake like that, but it would be a mistake. But there's a lot of teams that would be very interested. Chicago just barely missed the cup this year. They could use a center like that. Of course, Pittsburgh would have to take money back to do that. In the East, there's lots of teams. Carolina, if Columbus can't get Panarin, that could be an option if they're willing to trade him in the East. More than likely in the West, but there's look maybe a Nashville with Johansson, who isn't a serious number one center. If they were to get a Malkin, they would have a for sure number one superstar center that they've never had before. They could package Johansson and say Fabro or somebody like that, and maybe a draft pick, high draft pick or a prospect, and that could give Pittsburgh some depth. That was one of the first ones that came to mind. Colorado could definitely use something like that. They've got lots of cap room. They have lots of prospects. That would be an option since they're doing so well in the playoffs this year. I don't know exactly what, but I know that there'd be plenty plenty of teams that would be vying for it, and the package would be huge. Phil Kessel as well. Phil Kessel's got a couple more years at 6.8 or something like that. He makes a guy that came to mind for Phil Kessel was Arizona, and the reason why that is I just heard was it Burke, Brian Burke. I heard him talking about Phil Kessel and the whole situation in Toronto there, and what he said he loved Phil Kessel. And he didn't even use a but here. He said, what people don't understand about Phil Kessel, and the problem that was in Toronto, is he didn't give a shit what anybody thought except for the people in the room. And with the media that they have there, and how that affects the fans, I think it's more the media than the fans, that can be blown up. And that's exactly what happened. He just never, he's not going to portray an image. So I was thinking a really good place for Kessel and for the organization that I'm about to say would be Arizona, because fans there don't care if you care about fans. They only care about winning because they're not following. They haven't reached that point in Arizona where people are watching listening to the media every day, and Phil Kessel acted like this or acted like that. All they care about is that you score. So they got some decent prospects there. They got their first round draft pick this year, seconds or whatever. You could probably bring a decent package back from that, get that depth. And you know what? I don't think Pittsburgh would have to really just go down to bare bones if they traded those two guys. They could bring back some guys that could play right now or were close to it, and start restocking the cupboard as far as prospects are concerned. Without dying completely. It wouldn't be too bad, but if they wait much longer, and I think they wait a little too long now, I think the beginning of this year or last year would have been the time to do this, and then it would have been a lot smoother, but they just may still have time. Anyways, boys and girls, that's my full 42%. That's all I have to give. Why don't you just hit that subscribe button. I'll send you a my NHL Pearls of Wisdom necklace by a helicopter directly to your door. I'll even land it on top of your house if it's big enough. Wherever you want it. Actually, you can just go and buy one anywhere. Anywhere where things are sold, go to Walmart and say, where's your Pearl of Wisdom necklace section, and they send you over there and you can just purchase one. But if you hit the subscribe button, get it for free. Have a great day. Lots of love to you.